Okay, you chuds. It's time for us to dip our bankrupt toes into Terry Gilliam's deranged universe. So we're taking a gander at 1988's The Adventures of Barry Munchausen.
No, it's Baron Munchausen. Stop trying to impose your fat self onto the movie, Barry.
Now, in case you're unaware, Baron Munchausen slots into Gilliam's so-called Imagination trilogy, which also includes Time Bandits and Brazil. Many of you lowlives probably already know about this movie's troubled production history.
Bro, name a Terry Gilliam movie that didn't have production drama.
That's a fair point, Marco. It probably didn't help that in the middle of production, Columbia Pictures underwent a little switcheroo of their top brass, with Dawn Steele replacing David Putnam as CEO.
Yeah, but there was also the fact that Gilliam was trying to shoot this movie all over the globe, including locations in Spain and Italy, and quite often, inclement weather utterly hamstrung the shooting schedule.
Well, what about the fact that this cinematic turd scraped together about $8 million in ticket sales against a budget of like $46 million?
Floppity flop, you skint bitches.
Yeah, but according to Terry Gilliam, those figures are overcooked. He says there's no way the film actually cost $46 million.
Yeah, $35 million, $46 million, who gives a shit? It's still more money than our impoverished brains can even comprehend. This movie was financial cyanide. Fly, tell him about the cast.
What? You making me do the... what? Well, I guess I'll start with John Neville, who plays the Baron.
Ha! He's an ass.
Some of you might remember this guy from The Fifth Element.
Up front loading of a 120ZR missile. Marker lights on the objective.
Otherwise, he was known mostly for stage acting.
And of course, we got Monty Python All-Star Eric Idle, who plays Berto.
You're not frightened, are you?
That's it.
This guy is absolutely fantastic, and I love listening to him bitch about the movie.
Everything went wrong. Just absolutely everything. He didn't have enough money. It was made in 3 languages.
Yeah, we'll talk more about the Bertold character later on.
And we've got the fantastically coquettish Jonathan Pryce as the mayor of the unnamed European city where this cinematic monstrosity is set.
Yeah, but don't forget this cameo by Mr. Synchronicity himself.
Plus, we got Uma Thurman as the goddess Venus in what is technically her first acting role. Some of you sickos are probably aware that you can see part of her nipple during this clams on the half-shell scene.
Yeah, but that's a Botticelli reference, Barry.
Yeah, Botticelli. Yeah, we all appreciate the Ninja Turtles, Marco, you goddamn nerd. But you reprobates may not realize that Uma Thurman was probably only 17 at the time of filming.
Yo, I thought there were laws about child...
Look, we don't know all the ins and outs. I mean, we want to investigate further, but the FBI is already unhappy with this channel as it is.
Barry, we've got Oliver Reed as the dirt god Vulcan guy. He gave a masterful performance as Proximo in Gladiator.
Yeah, and it's been reported that he spent most of his time on the Munchausen set, getting pants-pissing drunk and trying to bang Uma Thurman.
Well, how old was Oliver Reed at the time of filming?
He would have been like 49.
Well, sweet pickle tickling Christ.
Man, it's just Epstein's all the way down.
Hey, who'd we forget?
You forgot Robin Williams, who makes an uncredited cameo as King of the Moon.
Plus, we got Dennis Winston and Jack Purvis, both of whom also appear in Time Bandits in Brazil.
And Sarah Polley as the bratty little kid, Salty Dog.
It's Sally Salt, you drunk old buzzard. Barry, tell him about the story.
Okay, gang. So, it's no goddamn coincidence that this movie wants to situate itself within the 18th century and the so-called Age of Reason. Because one of the film's main ambitions is to dismantle Enlightenment-era principles like reason, rationality, and the emergence of the scientific method.
The only lasting peace is one based on reason and scientific principle.
So, I guess this is supposed to be the, Russo-Turkish War?
Look, it's a little hazy on the details, so let's assume this is a fictional war against a cartoonish version of the Ottoman Empire. Anyway, this Jackson guy is a one-sided foil for Munchausen. Supposedly, he's so rational that he exterminates Sting here for being too successful as a soldier.
Yeah, but couldn't we argue that there are completely rational reasons why Sting would want to succeed as a soldier?
Yes, of course. But Gilliam needs science and reason to be square and lame, so that he can then introduce Baron Munchausen as a source of vigor and vitality.
Barry, this movie's framing narrative hurts my alpha brain. So, there's a fictional stage play occurring about Baron Munchausen.
Yes, asswipe.
But then the real Baron Munchausen shows up?
Yes, and for the rest of the movie, we're sort of intercutting between the framing narrative and the bullshit stories that the Baron is telling. So we're never completely certain what's happening.
Holy fucking diver. No wonder folks didn't know what to do with this movie.
Well, Barry, there are legitimate reasons to be skeptical of Enlightenment-era thinking.
Yeah, as reflected by this scene with Vulcan where he shows off a prototype of an atomic bomb.
All their wives and all their children and all their sheep and all their cattle and all their cats and dogs. All of them gone for good.
That's right, Barry. As far as science and rationalism go, the atom bomb is the ultimate manifestation of wartime technology.
Yeah, Barry. You know, all we really ended up with are more idiotic ways to destroy ourselves.
See, I knew you shit-asses would try to play the atomic bomb card on me. You're too predictable. And as much as it pains me to admit it, you are correct. Sorta. It is true that the whole rational human project turned out to be misguided.
Cogito ergo erumpo.
I don't want to know what that means, but I think you're referring to Descartes. And you are correct that Cartesian rationalism commits too generously to the illusion of objectivity without first acknowledging...
Barry, bro, we've been over this. You never finished community college, so don't try to use them big words.
Okay, asswipe, let me dumb it down for you. Do you like it when Mako cooks us his trout casserole?
No, not really. He always oversalts it.
Yo, pissfly, I'm about to oversalt that chit-chatty mouth.
Okay, but you still gotta eat something, right?
Well, I guess so.
So what if we replaced Mako's casserole with one of Bovan's roast armadillos?
Stuffed by mine very own loins.
No fucking way, Barry. That's downright disgusting.
Well, too goddamn bad, because that's how the logic in this movie works. By default, we can't possibly endorse reason and rationality because those qualities are associated with this Jackson dickhead. It looks like Captain Crunch if he started listening to the Smiths or whatever. And the only other clear option offered to us is Baron Munchausen, the lovable old fart played by John Neville.
Yeah, the first thing this old Munchhouse Gasper admits is that he's directly responsible for the war.
Yeah, that's right, Marco. Now, we're about to get sucked into one of the Baron's deranged flashbacks. See, somewhere in the past, Munchausen belittled the Turkish Sultan's favorite wine and then wagered that he could procure a much better bottle of hooch.
Yeah, but Munchausen doesn't even have to make any effort. He just sends his errand boy Berthold, who can run super fast because he's hooked on the Adderall.
That's right, and to his credit, the Sultan honors Munchausen's wager and promises Munchausen can leave his kingdom with as much gold as a strong man can carry.
Yeah, but Munchausen's man Albrecht has been taking them peptides. Empties the whole damn vault.
That's some cold-blooded shit. He didn't have to take every last dime.
Now you see what I mean? And now people on both sides are dying as a result of this selfish prick's actions.
Man, speaking of selfish, don't it seem like this man's constantly trying to bang married women?
It's true. When Munchausen goes to the moon, we learn that the Baron had a little romp with Ariadne, Queen of the Moon, wife of Re di Tutto.
But how the shit would that work? I mean, compared to Ariadne, Munchausen is like 6 inches.
That's not important.
Yeah, but how does my man situate himself?
Look, I don't know, but I'm guessing it involves a goddamn snorkel or a giant oyster shucker or whatever. The point is, the Baron acts like he's friends with the king, yet clearly he's had some kind of intimacy with the queen.
Yeah, and the whole detachable head routine supports what Barry's been saying.
I'm free at last! The body's dead, long live the head!
Yeah, that's right. The king and queen are situated as metaphors of Cartesian dualism, wherein Descartes conceived of the non-physical mind as something that existed in opposition to the hot, moist, corpulent, flatulent physical bodies within which our unfortunate minds have been trapped.
Just as our cage-like bodies are in turn caged inside this smelly apartment.
Which is, in turn, caged within this drifting chunk of space coal we call the Earth.
Wheels inside of wheels inside of wheels.
And the Earth itself is caged within a central tendril of the vast Milky Way.
That's enough. So, once again, the film's critique is, well, it's actually pretty valid. In hindsight, many of Descartes' principles were profoundly misguided.
If you lowlifes ever need a reason to dislike Descartes, just do some research on his justification for conducting vivisections on animals. I tell you what, Barry, none of that vivisection bullshit would have happened if old Bovon had been on that flight. I mean, if I had been around.
Yeah, you probably were around, you goddamn Methuselah. I bet you used to steal Descartes' lunch money when you were both kids.
Oh, my Barry boy, you flatter me so. These are nothing but slanderous lies. But I may have introduced young Rene to his first glimpse of pornography. You know, one of those titillating woodcut numbers. Ooh, the pulchritude. The pulchritude, Barry.
Pipe down, Bovon, you senescent son of a bitch. Ooh, dirty Christ. I guess that is some pretty good pulchritude.
Bro, enough. Yeah, so the king comes off as a lunatic. But you didn't even mention the fact that thanks to Munchausen, Larry David's character has been stranded on the moon for 2 fucking decades.
Aw, man, that's Eric Idle.
Well, whoever he is, Munch don't even apologize.
And now you come back here just because it suits you, after wasting half my life, and expect me to follow you to the ends of the earth? Yes.
That's right. See, the Baron's kind of an asswipe. And our next set piece takes place in the underworld, where we meet the god Vulcan and his aforementioned wife, Venus. Now look, we already mentioned that based on his behavior around Uma Thurman, Oliver Reed here sounds like he's quite a goddamn creep. But if I'm judging him purely on acting ability, well, he's pretty brilliant.
And once again, despite the fact that Vulcan treats Munchausen with great generosity, within 5 minutes, Munch is trying to bang the man's wife.
Who was apparently only 17 years old at the time of filming.
Barry, this old boy's fucking gross. You know, at least the king of the moon ain't trying to play slap and tickle with teenage girls. This is even more disturbing than Bovon opening for Rob Schneider at this year's CPAC.
Hey, gang, I know you're all big fans of Mel Gibson and Jim Caviezel, but you're not gonna believe what turned up on their laptop.
No. Ah, come on, do some pronoun jokes.
By the way, did anyone bother to imagine this crazy sky dancing scene from Venus's perspective?
Yeah, are you honestly telling me that this teenage girl is dying to mac on some guy who looks like her dead grandfather? I bet this old bastard smells like cough drops.
And fucking split pea soup.
I bet that big-ass schnoz whistles like a tea kettle when he's eating pussy.
Yo, don't we get a belly of the whale scene after Vulcan kicks everybody out of the underworld?
Yeah, there are a couple moments in the film where people get tired of listening to the Baron's bullshit and he gets all pouty. The first time it happens is at the theater where young Sally saves him from death and lack of attention. And just look here at the subtle metaphor. Do you get it? Asswipes? The Baron also gets all mopey when they're stuck inside the fish. Here, too, death comes a-beckoning.
But then Bucephalus busts in like the fucking Kool-Aid man.
And with just a pinch of snuff, Baron makes the fish sneeze everybody out so that Baron and his friends can go win the war.
You guessed it, folks. This movie is just another propaganda vehicle for big tobacco.
Well, what's the transformation? If Baron has just had a belly of the whale experience, that means that, like Jonah, he must have undergone some kind of change.
No, he's pretty much the same old doddering, senile asswipe he's always been.
So he's basically Don Quixote?
Yeah, he's tilting at windmills and huffing the fumes of his own insanity, making everybody else's life a total pain in the ass. Meanwhile, poor Bertolds with an ass here has to run faster than the sound barrier in order to save Munchausen from a sharpshooter's round. And let me reiterate, the reason the war is happening in the first place is that Munchausen caused unnecessary insult to the Sultan.
He's God's most rarefied boomer, wants to frame himself as the hero even though it's painfully obvious that he's causing nothing but grief for everybody else.
In typical boomer fashion, he also cheats death. At a certain point, I begin to wonder if maybe he's only keeping Sally around as a blood bag.
Speaking of Sally, she's got another wasted opportunity in the film. Listen to her whine to the Baron.
Hey! Stop it!
That's all she does for about 126 minutes, folks. She doesn't get to have an interesting backstory like goddamn Pippi Longstockings. She doesn't get to have an unexpected talent like the girl from Matilda. No, all she gets to do is compete for the Baron's attention, like all the other women in this crazy...
And Burt?
Time to get paid!
Okay, gang. Today's episode is endorsed by cyberspace's most arousing new frontier. Have you chuds heard of the metaverse?
Well, yeah. That mess was created by the little dead-eyed psychopath who runs Facebox or whatever.
Yeah, someone asked me, do I smoke meat?
Smoking meat. Smoking this meat.
Yeah, but that shit failed harder than Barry on date night.
You little son of a bitch! I will not tolerate it!
Shut up, peasants! The metaverse may not be to your liking, but get ready to embrace the future by joining the Betterverse from your friends at Poorhaus.
Welcome to the machine!
You can do it all, friends. Attend a virtual Kid Rock concert. Interact with over a dozen other Betterverse users who have social challenges just like you. You can even, you can do whatever the hell this is.
Bovon, this looks exactly like the regular goddamn metaverse, which we already know nobody wants.
Yeah, but this one's cheaper. And there's a lot more porn. I mean, sure, they'll scrape all your personal information and create a permanent record of every single interaction you make. But come on, folks, step into the future.
Well, Barry, you can't afford a house in the real world, but maybe you could get one in the Betterverse.
Yeah, that's a good point. Move on, take us to the Betterverse trailer park.
There's no trailer park, Barry. You penniless waste of carbon. This is supposed to be the Betterverse. You know, better than reality.
Old Barry's heard enough. They've even gentrified the goddamn video games. And I will not stick around to watch this world.
No, it's not really a video game, Barry. Think of it as a kind of simulated...
You can simulate these nuts, Fly. I don't need any goddamn ad money from Palantir.
Yeah, actually, you do need the money, you tubby putz. Smuckers canceled their endorsement because you wouldn't stop eating the promo material.
It's not fair.
Okay, folks, join the Betterverse today before Barry ruins it. The promo code is Lizard Cathedral.
Game on!
Well, okay, doesn't the Baron finally expire at the end? He gets sniped by the snobby asshole guy who's cast as a villain because he believes in math or whatever.
Yeah, but the Baron ain't really dead. He's stuck in a sort of narrative superposition.
Yes, he is dead. Dumbass.
No, chuds. That shot just barely grazed the Baron's ear.
He gets saved by the power of storytelling or whatever.
Yeah, see, you can't kill a Munchausen. It's like that time Bovon tried to flush his dead possum down the toilet. You can flick that little lever all you want, but it's not gonna do any good.
Mr. Pickle Feather! Ah! We miss you, buddy!
Okay, let's see what Al's got to say about this movie. I bet my left butt cheeky's gonna puss out and take a dialectical position.
Ah, Barry, my low-income, big-bellied boy. You see, the difficulty here is that you are asking the Baron to behave like a reasonable man, when the entire point is that he is not. The film sets up this so-called age of reason, with its tidy insistence on order and uniformity, only to show that such reason, taken as absolute, becomes its own sort of tyranny. The tyranny of rationalism. But then along comes Munchausen, who is, as you rightly note, quite intolerable in his own way. He's vainglorious. He exploits the hell out of his poor friends, most of whom are far more talented than he. And he's prone to indulging in cornball fantasies that dissolve any stable notion of truth. So what are we to make of this? Well, above all, don't be misled. The truth here is not that one side is right and the other wrong, but that both are incomplete.
That's just like I said, always riding the goddamn fence with your dialectics. You're just going soft on the Baron because he's British. But you used to eat crumpets with John Neville, you celestial snob.
Piss off, Barry. Anyway, the Baron's excess exists as the shadow of reason, just as rigid rationalism exists as the shadow of imagination. Placed in isolation, either extreme emerges as an absurdity. And so I have an alternate possibility. Perhaps the only truly admirable presence that this film conjures is neither the Baron nor his critics, but the act of storytelling itself, the sanctity of artistic production. Just look at these incredible set pieces. The film's lavish worlds and impossible transitions, you see, suggest that meaning is not found in coherence alone, but in creative iteration. The Baron, after all, does not save the city. The story does. Okay, back to Bald Boy Barry.
I knew you'd say that. Okay, gang. All things considered, I'd still argue that Gilliam's Munchausen feels very much like what it is, a product of the 80s. If you think about it, the messaging is actually pretty similar to what we see from other anti-rationalist projects, like the Never-Ending Story, in which Bastian's very stiff, rational daddy is presented as the asshole, and the escapism of Fantasia is presented as the only viable path to salvation.
You could slot just about all of Gilliam's movies into that camp.
Yeah, probably Jim Henson movies too, like Labyrinth. You know, Sarah rejects reality for a more vivid fictional world that's based mostly on David Bowie's Bulge.
Yes, we're all aware of the bulge. Anyway, in old Barry's opinion, it might even be the case that this fantasy-forward thinking is what we all needed back in the 1980s, in the midst of the Cold War and whatnot. But I wonder if maybe now we're witnessing the cost of our preoccupation with irreality. Just consider the overwhelming preponderance of imbecilic, anti-rationalist thinking today. Back in the 80s, cultish, dumb thinking made you a laughingstock. You had to bury that kind of crap in the tabloids, which no one took seriously. But these days, there's a premium placed on the dumbest goddamn theories you've ever heard in your life. The sloppier, the better. It's all flat earths and bi-curious integers and claims of demonry. In other words, it's just like Big Carl tried to warn us.
If we are not able to ask skeptical questions, to interrogate those who tell us that something is true, to be skeptical of those in authority, then we're up for grabs for the next charlatan, political or religious, who comes ambling along.
So, you saying we're all Munchausen?
Yeah, seems like nobody wants to take their medicine these days. Everybody running as fast as they can from reality, trying to cobble together some kind of fantasy they can escape into.
Yeah, there's a reason why Munchausen syndrome is a clinically recognized condition. That's Wipes. Look it up.
Do you catch it from eating ass, Barry? Because if that's the case, every single one of us in this rat plague department has probably got a scorching case of
that's not how Munchausen syndrome works. It's when you feign an illness because you're desperate for attention.
Oh, just like Stephen Hawking.
No, Stephen Hawking was not... piss off. Okay, ass wipes, that's all the stupidity I can stand for now. Tune in next time. We're all gonna take turns drinking from a bucket of unpasteurized horse milk. And Marco's gonna tell us about the time he pissed next to Larry David at a Yankees game.
Whoa, Barry. Hang on, bro. I mean, you've been to the moon several times. Is it like what we see in Munchausen?
Not really. I mean, it's drier than one of Neil Brennan's bowel movements up there. So you're always going around with chapped lips. And there's no floating heads or fancy moon cities or anything like that. It's just Sam Rockwell and his goddamn clones strip mining the moon dust. Yeah, you know, some people say my voice sounds kind of like Sam Rockwell's.
Nobody says that, Barry.
Yes, they do say that. You're not aware because you never met my rowdy friends. I can tell they wouldn't like you.
Stop lying, Barry.
Yeah, well, we talk on the phone all the time, and they're gonna be coming over later. You'll see. You're gonna feel so goddamn stupid.
Reality is not always probable or likely.
These dreams go on when I close my eyes. Every second of the night I live another life.
Deep in the belly of the whale I found her, down with the deep blue jail around her.
Nothing bad can happen. It can only good happen.